Hello everyone, it's Elizabeth from the Smart Stitcher. In this week's tutorial we are going to be looking at how we take our basic pattern tile and we're going to just start by putting it into a really kind of basic pattern repeat. So I've just used, let me just click on something to show you. So I've taken this basic tile, artboard 1, there we go, and I've copied and pasted it and I've just put it into my second artboard, and I've used the tools at the top here, flip horizontal and flip vertical, just to repeat the tile and get everything lined up, and this tutorial shows you how I did it. The first thing we're going to do is come over to our artboard tool and we're going to draw out another artboard to help us get underway with our repeat. Now I'm going to make this one twice as big as my original, and I'm just going to alter the dimensions in the transform box. I've done that, click return, and now what I'm looking to do is to come back to artboard 1 and I want to copy and then paste that. So we're just going to be using copy and paste, and we're going to be flipping and rotating our tile within this particular pattern repeat. So first thing I'm going to do is Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to make sure that I've got the move tool highlighted and I'm going to drag my pattern across. Now when I get the red and green lines, I'll know that my tile is completely lined up with the edges of the canvas. So again, I'm just going to repeat Control C, Control V. I'm going to hit move, but I'm also this time coming up to the top here and I'm going to flip horizontal. That will turn our tile around almost like we're holding up a mirror. And then again, I can slide that over, and when I get the lines, now this is a little bit deceiving because if you have a look very close to the top of the canvas here, you can see that although I was getting a red line, my canvas itself isn't actually level. Now sometimes I just think I've got a slightly lazy finger. Sometimes I think if I let go and if I happen to let go of my mouse and the tile jogs, then this will kind of be slightly out of sync, so it's worth just keeping an eye on it. And then if I move it back up, I can see then that I've got that horizontal red line, green line, vertical, and I know that I'm in the right place. I'm going to then just repeat this process. The next one I'm going to do is to flip it vertically. So I've flipped it vertically, but this one I'm going to move down. And what you'll notice is that we're basically just lining up our edges. So you can start to see how this tile is going to work. Each time we are copying and pasting, we're getting a new layer in our board. The last one I'm going to do is to flip horizontally, move it into position. And again, this is where it can be quite useful just to enlarge your canvas, to click out of it and to make sure that you haven't got any bits where the canvas is overlapped or the edges aren't lined up, and just to sort of check that. Now you will notice that there is a sort of very fine line here, and also you can see the word artboard 1. When this is actually printed, you won't see the line, you won't see artboard 1, but it's a sort of almost like a little kind of thing to know about the software, a little quirk of the software. So I'm just going to have a look now and just make sure that my other edges are nice and straight and that my edges of my tile are nice and level. Now I've just done a little bit of investigation to work out why I've got this very slight black mark here, and it's wherever this pattern is repeated, so I've got one on each sort of side of my tile, and that's actually just almost sort of like a little hangover from where I changed my line that I'd drawn into a brush. So you've got a slight kind of edge mark of where the next sort of mark is going to be, and that's all that is, so I'm not particularly worried about that. I know that artboard 1 and the sort of the fine white line will vanish when it's printed. So we've basically, through flipping horizontally and vertically, we've now created our sort of first pattern repeat tile. Now what you could do is, if you wanted to then just sort of expand this out a little bit more, I could perhaps double the size of the artboard and again group my 4 items here and sort of then cut and paste again to sort of see how they start to look in that pattern repeat. But you can work that out, just following the sort of basic principles that I've shown you here. So that is our introduction, our very sort of easy introduction into creating a pattern repeat. Now, what you might notice when you start to put things together is that you sometimes find there's an area within the design where you think, oh, that could do with another object. It could do with maybe just like a different color. It could do with something to fill it because it's very obviously a gap. So as you sort of start to sort of build that design, you can put it into a simple repeat and sort of have a look and think what you would like to do with it. The best thing is, of course, when you are sort of working things out, is just to sort of very quickly put it into a pattern repeat, see what you think, and then you can always edit it afterwards. Now that is just a really kind of simple way of using flipping horizontal and flipping vertical. Obviously you can sort of build up by doing, if you were looking at building say half drop repeats or sort of brick style patterns, absolutely that's of course another way of doing it. And of course you can also use symbols, which we will be coming on to in later editions. So all you need to do now is play. Take your tile, have some fun. Maybe you want to change the background colours, just sort of mix it up a bit. I quite like how some of these lines have mirrored and repeated, so you could sort of play about, work on your basic tile. If you do like this idea and sort of this kind of repeat, when we come on to our symbols tutorial, you might find that quite helpful for being able to edit perhaps a little bit faster. But just in terms of building up knowledge, this is a really good kind of way of starting your patterns off. So have fun, explore and play. And one thing I could do if I wanted to just sort of test how this was going to print is to export it either as a picture or as a PDF and just print it and see how it looks. Now I just wanted to show you something because it's going to be quite important if you just want to print the pattern repeat you've just created. If I go to File and Export and I've highlighted Artboard 2, it will come up blank. So I need to make sure that anything I've done on that particular artboard is linked to everything within that artboard, and this is what I mean. So at the moment, if I try to export it, it's going to come up as a blank document. So let's come out of that. And what I want to do is to drag the 4 artboards underneath Artboard 2 into that particular layer. And you'll see that they'll start to join together, so that when we then click to export, again, now I don't want to do this one because that's, if I click on that, you'll see that's the artboard over here. I actually just want to focus on Artboard 2 because that's the one I want to print to check my repeat. So I'm now going to come over to File and Export, and you will see that we have our file format and our PNG, or you've got lots of different formats there. I tend to use a PNG or a PDF format just to check the print, and it allows me to sort of see how it's going to look, which is quite useful if I'm going to use anything like print on demand, because I'm not going to burn lots of money just sort of trying products before I've actually had a chance to sort of check that the print actually works before I sort of send it off. So it's a good little tip just to make sure that you've got everything together that you're going to print, and then you can pick your file format and then you just click export, and you might need to give it a file name on your computer, and then you are done. So always remember to save your work as you go along, but at that particular point when you come to export, it can be quite alarming if you think you've got it all sorted out and then you go to export it and you realise you've got a blank there like we had in that first example. But by making sure that all of the bits that I want to print are on that artboard, and I can see that if I open this little sort of arrow here, I've got all my artboards there that I want to print, and they are now all definitely connected to Artboard 2.